Lestania. I think her name's Lestania. I ain't good at pronouncing names, so forgive me for how badly I might mess up names in this case. Okay. So, if I have any ladies watching this, what would drive you to kill a man? And not just kill a man, but publicly kill him in front of people. What would drive you to that point? Because really, we're all capable of violence, so it's important to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what lines are we willing to cross and when? Okay, so our story starts all the way back in 1881 with a man named Francesco, or his family and friends, pretty much everyone called him Chico. So Chico was in his early 40s. He was unmarried, which at the time could be considered a red flag. Hi, friend. I would say, however, the biggest red flag with him is that he was in his 40s and preferred to hook up with 18 to early 20-year-olds, so that's a bigger red flag. It was a choice at the very least. It was a choice. Chico, he was a pretty wealthy guy, you know. His family was rich. He had his own business that was going pretty well. Really, he had everything going for him. And really, the only issue he faced in his life was he enjoyed sleeping around, which would affect not only his reputation, but the women who were involved in this, because it was 1881. And, you know, at the time, if you were a woman, you just could not do anything outside of marriage, because you could very easily lose your entire livelihood, your whole future. You could be flat out disowned and tossed to the streets. So it was far more dangerous for women than it was for men to sleep around. However, one day, while he's on a business trip, which was really while he was out looking for someone new to spend the night with, he meets this young lady, Lestania, and I really hope I'm saying her name right. I could be saying it wrong. I'm sorry. She was 18 at the time, and she was a singer for her parents' pool hall. And first off, she's cute. She was a gorgeous girl. She was apparently very talented. She had a lot going for her. But she was young, she was cute, and Chico happened to walk into that pool hall. He saw her. He wanted her. And so, as he starts trying to talk with her, other people who kind of know his reputation are trying to subtly warn her, to like, yo, maybe don't talk with him. He wants to kind of just have fun and dump you. And she's like, it's okay. I'm not going to do anything with him. It's fine. She was a fairly smart girl. She knew what would be at stake, and she didn't want to lose it. So, what she did was instead she just chatted with him. Apparently, they spent hours talking. And Lestania was very good at making sure they were together publicly. Like, people could see where they were, because even a rumor at the time could be devastating for her reputation. And she wasn't going to let that happen. But eventually, after they spend an entire day talking, he invites her back to his hotel room. She makes it very clear to him, like, yo, I'm not down for fun times. That's not my thing. I prefer to wait until marriage. He says, oh, that's cool, bro. He leaves it at that. Stop it. And so they go to the hotel room, and at first it's okay, but he tries asking her again. She rejects him. He keeps asking, and she is rejecting him, and there is some gray area as to what happened. There's some sources that say he physically forced her into a hookup, and other sources are saying it was more he pressured her and simply locked her in the room until she gave in. But eventually, she was willing to make a deal with him. She basically said, like, hey, I'm only going to sleep with you then if you marry me, because, well, that'd be great for her. She'd get married. You know, she would get married. He's wealthy, he's attractive, he's charming. And at the time, with what the roles of a woman were, she'd be able to fulfill everything she felt she should. So, he agrees to marry her. He's getting down. He's like, Lystania, you are the most gorgeous girl I've ever met. I have had so much fun today just talking to you, and I really feel the spark between us. There's a chemistry, and I love it. I want to forever treasure this and treasure you. I am willing to settle down and be yours and only yours, if you let me fuck you first. And you know what, Lystania, I can understand, I can understand how she got tricked. I can, especially considering, she's 18, he's 40. There is a huge power dynamic here, and it's in his favor. But they hook up, and by morning, he is gone. Man flat out skipped town. Adding insult to injury, he had his business in that town. And he still refused to even come look at his business just to avoid Lystania. And, she of course is like, what the fuck, bro? Like, we made a deal. You need to fucking marry me. And at the time, men, they just did not make a promise and then break it. Incredibly poor. And, I can see how it could be argued that given his reputation, she should have expected that. But, again, the age difference. She was 18. He was older than 40. And there was even just different power dynamics of he could sleep around all he wanted and not ruin himself. She couldn't. His future was perfectly secure. Her future was at his mercy. There is no power balance between them. Everything is in his favor. So, man left and she is upset. There's weeks passing, there's no sign of him, he's not writing, and eventually she is stressed enough that she's like, okay, I need to tell someone. She goes to her older sister, and her sister is beyond pissed at all of this. She is like, okay, we're gonna find this son of a bitch, we're gonna get him to marry you. And so, they're working together, they're subtly asking questions, trying to figure out where he is without being too obvious why, simply because at this moment, Lystania's reputation is still intact. No one knows she spent the night with him. So if they can find him, they can marry, and it'll all be good. She'll be saved. It'll be perfect. Eventually, they do find out that he has to come back to town because, again, he has his business there. He can't avoid it forever. And so, the sisters essentially share a wonderful, we're going to get this motherfucker moment. And they find him down by a racetrack. He was gambling on some of the horses, I believe, and the girls confronted him. Lystania's sister, why? Lystania's... Are you done? Lystania's... Lystania's sister, she was not there to play around. She was beyond pissed. She had all of hell's fury backing her up. There's some sources that say that she was physically dragging him by his ear to the nearest church. She was not playing. And she was going to force him to marry Lystania, whether he liked it or not. And rightfully so, because the moment he lied to Lystania, he stole her future. She was 18, she was young, she was beautiful, she was talented, she had a lot to offer. And he was willing to destroy her life because of a boner. He had this coming, I'll be honest. Karma is a double-edged sword. Now, so they're on a street, it's pretty busy, people are out and wandering around, and they're waiting for a cab to bring them to the nearest church. But Chico, he can't keep his mouth shut. He can't shut up for 1 minute. And he's, trying to act all tough. He's talking shit to Lystania. He's mocking her for everything that happened. He's making fun of her. He's just trying to hurt her verbally in every way he can. And Lystania has nothing to lose. He tells her how he'd never marry her. He's talking about how he's going to tell the church that she's defiled, that she's useless, she's no longer a pure virgin. He's going to get her outcasted. he is telling her how she is powerless to stop him. Lestania has nothing to lose. He keeps talking shit, and she looks him dead in the eyes. She pulls out a pistol and shoots him point blank for the entire street to see. Maybe it was her sister's idea, maybe it was hers. It could have been some sort of plan B they both came up with, or I don't know, maybe women just walk around with hidden weapons in the day. I mean, the pockets were big enough it could have happened. But to everyone else who witnessed this, it looked like Lestania and Chico were just having a casual, private conversation, and then she pulls out a gun and shoots him in the eye. She is very quickly arrested and charged with murder. Then comes the trial. Now, any woman or anyone who even presents feminine enough, I'm sure has heard the age-old, "Are you on your period?" question whenever they express any sort of anger or emotion that isn't complete joy and sunshines. This was basically Lestania's court defense. This was 1881. Let's be honest, men did not give enough shits to learn how a woman's body works back then. Some men still refuse to today. So keep this in mind. Now, Chica's family, they are pissed that their golden child was killed. You know, they're throwing everything they can at Lestania, and they're calling her crazy. They want the maximum sentence because she is a danger to society. They want her locked up. They want her just gone, completely vanished from society. You know, they're spreading all these rumors. They're talking shit about her to everyone they can. They're really trying to drag her through the mud, you know. Around people, you full on, lock up your husbands, lock up your sons. Lestania's gonna kill them. They're going full force with, she's insane. And Chica's family, they are very wealthy. They have a good lawyer, and it looks pretty dang hopeless, especially since, again, 1881, they could just say, she is woman, lock her up. And between that, her having been seen to commit a violent act, and just the wealth aspect, a lot of court cases would have sided with that. However, Lestania apparently heard Gaslight, Gatekeep, Girlboss one time and took it to heart, because she went on trial with 7 doctors and medical professionals to support her, and her defense was she is innocent because she was on her period. She was crazy, but only because her period had her brain bleeding. Because I guess back then, doctors thought menstrual cycles leads to your brain bleeding. It's 1881. I shouldn't be surprised, and yet I'm dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded more than anything. Like, how does someone look at a period, even if they know nothing? It's pretty obvious where the blood comes from, and yet they'll still sit there and be like, ah, yes, the brain is bleeding. But I guess that's just how little information there was about how a woman's body works. So the doctors and her lawyer are up there and they're arguing, like, you can't punish this poor girl. She was crazy, but only because of her period. Blood in the brain clouds the eyesight, clouds the thinking. She didn't know what she was doing. Are you going to punish a woman for being a woman? And you know what? I admire it. I admire it. Like, Chico's family was sitting there calling her crazy. Lestania took them and was like, I'm crazy, yes. And I think that's a power move, using their defense against them. And you know what? There was some truth to be found in her trial, because with one quote from a doctor especially that I particularly like, this doctor so elegantly put it, a virtuous woman who has had her virtue stolen will absolutely go mad. By the end of this trial, Lestania was declared innocent for reasons of temporary insanity. She had nothing to lose and took a risk. By the end of it, she walked away with her reputation restored and a revenge she wanted.